if you want a quiet keyboard, I can recommend the Logitech MX keyboard. I have that one. It's
Okay,
great.
I have to write that one down.
Yeah, all the like MX stuff is nice. Like the keyboard is nice. The mouse is really nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I have both.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I walk away with new knowledge from these sessions. Piyusha, they're just telling me that I sound very aggressive and loud on my old school Logitech keyboard. So I'm getting soft keyboard recommendations.
Oh, you can actually get this one. It's like super cool.
Ooh, that's nice too.
Yeah, the mouse and keyboard are so silent that you won't be able to actually, hear anything.
That's what I need.
That's cool. I feel like I've been seeing a lot of people with that style. Something about the rounded buttons for the keys like scares me, but maybe it's just like an unnecessary fear and it would be totally fine. You know?
I feel like you will get like 2 to 3 days to get used to it because we are so used to like big buttons and the square buttons. So that's the only thing which I faced when I bought this one. Other than that, I really love this because I can actually connect it to multiple devices. So for example, I just have to, I've connected it to my iPad, my personal laptop, and my office laptop. And all I have to do is like press these white buttons as to which device I'm actually using it with.
Nice.
And same goes for the mouse as well. So there are like 3 blinking lights and I can select like which one I'm going to use it with. And it's so silent that I don't have to worry about like, okay, somebody might hear me clicking because I'm on a LinkedIn Live or a meeting. And so it's like, it's easy to like type and click and do whatever I want.
What kind of keyboard is that you're rocking over there?
It's a Logitech keyboard. It's a Bluetooth one, so you don't even need a dongle for this.
Okay.
I can share a link with you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay. I actually used to have like a Dell keyboard, which was really amazing as well. And then my son did a thing with it. My husband uses it now. So he actually like pulled a key from it. It was a really silent one as well. And it worked so well. But I had to replace it because...
Yeah. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Sorry, we're just talking about keyboards because Nicole actually is used to typing things very fast.
Very loud.
And when you'll actually hear her typing, it'll be like... Da, 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 da.
You guys are going to hear it in a second. You're going to be like, wow, that is extremely loud.
Maybe you can do a demo.
The demo today is just me typing. Enjoy our ASMR Slack.
Yep.
Here, ready? Right?
Hilarious.
Let's see. Right? Is that very loud?
Yeah, it's like equally as loud as you talking, if that is fair.
Okay. I'm learning a lot about myself and my tech over here. I'm also learning that Logitech keyboard is the way to go for me for the future. I'm just starting the slideshow. I'm going to share a couple slides. And then I'm going to pass it over to Matt. We'll intro ourselves, of course. But I am very interested in, Piyusha, the link for your keyboard.
Okay. I will. Do you want me to share it in the chat for everyone, or
I don't want to gatekeep for all the other loud typers out there. So you're more than welcome. We're not sponsored by Logitech. I'll just say that out loud. Okay, so we're about 3 minutes out. We are recording, of course. I might just keep all this fun keyboard banter in the recording because I want everyone to thrive off of what we've learned about keyboard. But thanks everyone for joining today. We're on the next episode of Getting Unstuck with Slack, and I'm so grateful to be here with Piyusha, who is co-hosting with me today, and with Matt. They're going to introduce themselves in a second, but really our goal is to help you get unstuck with out-of-the-box features in Slack. So it's not another add-on. There's nothing else you have to get. This is all out of the box. How did we solve problems with Slack? So how are we driving value? And I'll have the slides available for you as well. we're going to do exactly what I just said, right? So we're going to introduce ourselves and talk about Matt a little bit in a good way. And then I'm going to relinquish the screen share. And Matt is going to talk to us about how he got unstuck. He's got some awesome content for us. And please throw your questions in the chat along the way. I'll be checking that out. I'll be muted, so you can't hear my aggressive typing. And then please feel free, to also raise a hand, ask a question. Love participation. We love curveballs, right? So that's how we learn best. I am the King of Prussia PA Slack community leader, also the director of delivery over at SaltClick and operations. I have been a Slack community leader for a few years now. It has been an amazing experience for me, and I am so happy to be able to bring this session to everybody and to be partnering with Piyusha. And I would love for you to introduce yourself and how amazing you are.
Well, thank you. So I'm Piyusha. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Salesforce Consulting Manager. I lead the Vadodara Salesforce Slack chapter, and I also lead the Salesblazer APAC community. So you might see me running a bunch of sessions for Slack as well as for Salesforce. And now you know the reason, because I lead two different community groups, one for Slack and one for Salesforce. And Nicole I think we have been partnering a lot lately. You will see me together on Dreamforce a few times as well. So really excited to collaborate with Nicole on this amazing Slack session as well. When I saw her doing this, and I was like, wow, this is a really amazing topic. We probably need to co-host this for my chapter as well. And so that's why we decided to actually do the co-hosted event. And really happy to see a lot of the folks from this side of the world as well. So thank you so much for staying up and joining the session.
Yes, I appreciate everyone ending their day with us. Of course, it's 1 Eastern my time, so I'm on maybe like coffee cup number 3. But we are partnering a lot, and I love it. And I appreciate you wanting to collaborate. And I'm very, very excited, as you know, for our Dreamforce sessions together. So more to come on that. They're going to be awesome. And then, of course, we've got Matt. Matt, you are a systems engineer. You are a Slack passionate user. And I was so excited when we chatted because what I really took away was not only that passion for Slack, but for your teams that are using it, right? And really wanting to help people have fun at work, save time, save energy for, other things in their life. So please introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself and your experience with Slack. I'll keep your picture up there for a bit before I relinquish the screen share.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you both so much. I appreciate it. Yes, my name's Matt. I'm a systems engineer at MTS Pro Services, based in New York City. I've been here full-time since like 2016, but I was originally from Pennsylvania, but closer up near Scranton. And yeah, I've been using Slack since probably like 2016, 2017. Had a great experience as a Slack user in this role and becoming an engineer. Of course, I gained more of the admin responsibilities of Slack, not only seeing how other people in the past had kind of created their own solutions to make it easy, but then kind of bringing some of my own as well. Because in my opinion, if you're doing Slack well, you could be in Slack for a majority of your day, whether it's talking to people, getting information, getting notifications, asking questions, asking humans or non-humans questions, which we'll talk about later on. So like all of this kind of stuff is really powerful. And I think it makes it easy because especially if you're working with a remote team, it's nice to kind of have everything all in one place. And that's something that you could totally do with Slack.
I love, very well said, very well said. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to give you the power of the screen share. I'm very excited for what you're going to walk us through. And I love the lens as well. So if we're doing it right, if we're full adopters, we're Slack first, we are starting to not have to leave Slack at all, which is so powerful. So Matt, please, over to you.
All right. Can we see the What is Slack page?
Yes, we can. Yes,
wonderful. Great. So I like to cover like a little bit of beginner stuff and kind of work up from there. So some of this might be super self-explanatory. If you've been using Slack as long as some of us have, it might make sense, but I think it's always good to kind of recover some of the introductory important stuff and then kind of build from there. And people who are new to Slack could certainly find it interesting as well. So when we think about what Slack is, there's a lot of different ways that you can answer it. Of course, you can like go to the Salesforce or Slack website, see that it's kind of a backronym standing for searchable log of all communication and knowledge, but there's other real world answers too. And I'll later on tell you how I kind of got some of these answers to this question. So it's a collaboration platform. It allows people to collaborate back and forth, working on whatever their work is together. It's also a way to connect with coworkers and with clients, because not only can you have your internal teams inside of Slack, but there's a number of ways that you can connect with either vendors that you work with or your end users or end clients all inside of Slack as well. So it's a great tool for that. Of course, the communication platform, as well as collaboration. It's really good at communication, being able to jump in a huddle and chat with people, being able to send DMs and messages in channels. Of course, that comes from the very basis of it being a messaging app. You know, it is an easy way to go and type a message and send it. I like Slack a lot because it kind of takes some of the seriousness out of like messaging with people. You know, when you write an email, you're like, hello, Nicole, hope this finds you well, blah, 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 thanks, Matt. But you could just Slack someone a message real quick and it kind of removes some of that pressure to be formal and use some of the formalities that we commonly use in email or other tools. And really, it's an operating system for work, right? It's a place where you can have all of this different content, communication, collaboration, messaging, connecting with different people, all happening inside of one app that's easy to manage, easy to work with. So for me, if you were to ask that question, I wrote this out. Slack is where our team members connect with each other and with our clients. It's where company culture is fostered. Slack is a one-stop shop to chat with a colleague, engage with company information and data, and have fun. Because our company, since I had started at MTS back in 2022, we were fully remote. We're mostly remote now, and we've got people all over the place. We've got some people here in the New York area, other people based in the Philly area. We've got 2 people in Hawaii. So we're spread across the country, spread across time zones, and being able to not only work together, but also kind of just learn about each other and really foster that company culture inside of the tool, I think is super important. Because if you're rolling out Slack to a new team, perhaps, being able to not only have work there, but also kind of fun and interesting company content live there as well, helps people use the tool, helps kind of get buy-in, helps kind of really have everything all in one place. So the next question is how? How do we do that? And in this case, how do we get unstuck? So we're going to talk about kind of 3 basic concepts and then like the real world ways of doing it. So the first way is you have to be organized. Slack is a tool that can really help you be super organized or help kind of foster some of the craziness and chaos inside of Slack as well. So coming at things from a very systematic approach, being focused, being organized definitely helps in Slack, helps everyone who's using it be organized as well. Second is documentation, writing down how things are set up, writing down how things are used. We're going to talk about how you can do some of that inside of Slack. So instead of just making a channel and having a name, how you kind of define what that channel is for, how it's supposed to be used. And of course, implementing it, actually doing it and setting it up. Today, we're going to focus on 4 basic areas in Slack. We're going to focus on channels, emoji, workflows, and apps. I know most of this is really internal, but I had to mention some really useful apps that some of you may have heard of that are a really easy add-on inside of Slack as well. So we're going to start off here just with channels. So the best way to organize channels inside of Slack, especially if you have a lot of channels, is to use some sort of naming scheme. So this means before the name of whatever your channel is, put some kind of prefix. This could be client. Like if I have a client that's called Salesforce, my channel name might be Client Salesforce. And that's where we talk about dealings with that client, updates, problems, issues, whatever it might be. You can use feat as an abbreviation for feature, proj as an abbreviation for project, team for team-specific channels, like if you had a systems team or a marketing team or a support team. You can also have a triage-focused channel to triage issues. And then some of the more interesting non-work related ones could be a chatter channel. At work, we have chatter for Wordle. We have chatter for Taylor Swift. We have chatter for food. We have chatter for people who like to garden. And that's where you can kind of, in one prefix category, put all of those really fun, interesting channels and just encourage that communication to happen somewhere, so that if one of our colleagues cooks a really great meal on his smoker or whatever, you take a picture of it, you could share it with your team right there. And everyone else in that channel is kind of also interested in cooking and food and stuff. So chatter channels are super important for kind of fostering that culture. And this is just like a little, obviously, preview of what you can do with the channel names. The ones that have that little feat or proj or team and then dash are just an example of that. There's also feed channels, which we're going to talk about a lot, which is, I like to say feed channels are where robots talk to us. It's where a feed comes into Slack that humans, us actually using Slack, can go in and see what these feeds are talking about. We'll deep dive into that a little bit later. An onboarding or offboarding channel focused on onboarding or offboarding a particular client or a particular employee or something like that. Operations channels for focusing on maybe in-office operations. And of course, shared channels for sharing things externally. We like to do that so that anytime there's a channel that's shared with a vendor or shared with a client or something like that, make sure to use that shared prefix so that they show up all in one place. And it's super obvious for your team when you're talking internally versus when you're sharing something externally. And as a reminder at the bottom there, any of these channels could be private or public. So if there's a channel like an onboarding or an offboarding that you might want to keep to a more focused group of users, you can make that private. If there's something like, chatter Wordle that you want anyone to be able to join in on the fun, make it a public channel so that it's easy for everyone to actually see that.
Hey, Matt, I love your call out for the chatter type channels, right? I always love experiencing other companies' naming conventions. So we are Salt Click, and we have salty channels. So one of our channels is Salty Babies. So we post pictures of like our kids and other things, and then we have like pets as well. But I love the shout out for the naming conventions. I think that's huge for organization. But again, just shout out to Chatter as well, even though it's going away.
Yeah, for sure. And just to hit on that one once more, it also kind of helps the people who are using Slack in your workspace understand, if there's a channel for a particular team, it starts with team. If there's a channel for a particular project, it starts with project. So it kind of helps people that might not be so familiar with Slack when they're coming into it have a digestible way of understanding how that is. And like I said, it's great to document these things also. Have some kind of documentation page somewhere that kind of notes out how these different channels are named and set up. So it's easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a Canvas definition for your channels. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I actually feel like this is such a cool way, because when somebody new joins in the organization and you have these chatter kind of channels, they're like super helpful to actually understand. Or like, for example, when I joined my current company, I actually went to like some of these chatter type channels to see like what people are talking about and what tone they're using, because I wanted to understand like, okay, I'm not doing something super unique or weird, and I'm actually trying to, it actually kind of helped me to like mingle with the people by understanding like what they're talking about. So it's super useful. And on that note, we actually, on our announcements channel, we actually have a canvas which talks about like these general channels, actually, obviously not about the product specific or anything, but it talks about like what we can post in random, what we can post in our nominations and all of those things. And so it was like super helpful for you as a newbie, for at least for me as a newbie, to understand like, okay, what I can and cannot do here. And it was really amazing. And they even had a line, which obviously nobody pays attention to, that do not use ad channel everywhere.
Right. It's super important. You got to call that one out for sure. But yeah, no, that's a great point. Having a place to reference all that, super helpful. Another place that you can put it, one of the things Nicole mentioned is a canvas, great for that as well. But if we look here, every channel inside of Slack, some of you may know this, some of you may not, has a place to say a description for what that channel is and a topic for that channel. You could also add bookmarks. You can also pin other things along the top of a channel. And like we said, making a guide to kind of how you use a naming scheme. But if you take a look here, which is the next thing on my screen, there we go. I made this project channel. It's called Project Slack Training. Train people how to use Slack. You can add in your topic and your description. That topic shows up directly next to the channel name. You can put hyperlinks in there. You can hover over it to see multiple lines of information. So in our company, we'll do something like a client channel right up there next to the client name. Like say it was client-Salesforce. We'll put that client's account manager. So it's a one-stop shop to just reference who like a good point of contact is internally for that company. Maybe you can put, if you're dealing with a lot of in-person business, you could put where they're located. You can put a lot of other information up there. You can put a link to click on. For example, on our systems team, you can click on a link right up there to open a new ticket with us. Our support portal link is up in there. So anything that you could put in there. Yeah, we've got great call outs in the chat too about how long they could be. You could throw emojis in there. A lot of interesting things that you could use up in the topic and the description. It's great because then when newcomers come, you can say, hey, all of this is actually set up. All this is pointed out. Just look in the channel topic and description to see anything that you want in terms of like the details of that channel, how we want you to use it. You can put something funny in there, depending on whether or not it's a chatter channel, anything you want. And all these channels in Slack show up in the sidebar. Now, I have a very particular way that I recommend everyone use the sidebar in Slack because depending on how big your organization is and how many channels and apps and things you have, it can get kind of crazy really quickly. So my tips are to keep it organized, first off. Only viewing channels with unread messages. The reason why is because if you ever want to go to another channel, there's a number of ways you can do it. You can hit Command-N, type in the name of the channel or the first few letters, and then you're there. You can click on channels and view your channels and go to one that way. I like to really only visually see what channels don't have only have unread messages. Anything that kind of needs my attention, something to go read, a new message somewhere. So I like to keep it really minimal, only see the unread messages channels. I don't ever like to scroll up and down in the sidebar, so I like to keep it pretty condensed and narrow, so it's only what kind of fits in my screen. One of the new features in Slack, you can designate certain individuals as VIPs so that they show up in the very top of your sidebar. So maybe you've got a manager or someone who's shadowing you or a client and a contact that you've set up with Slack Connect, someone from an end user or something, a client. You can designate them as a VIP so their messages always show up at the top. And you can also make sections to organize how all that is set up. So this is a real screenshot of my sidebar. We've got hundreds of channels. We've got 49 people that we work with, and we've got probably dozens of organizations that we have in Slack Connect. But at the start or at the end of a day, when I've gone through everything, generally speaking, this is what it looks like. I've got some sections in there named Matt GPT, as I'm nicknamed internally, Talos Talk, Serval stuff, Helios for some things I'm actively working on and referencing. I've got apps, external connections, channels, and direct messages right there. And you can see that VIP shows right up at the top, which is easy to reference there. So I'd like to keep it super minimal so that you never have to look and scroll through that list. Like I said, if there's ever a channel that I need to send a message to, you can click that little square with the pencil icon in the top and write your message to whoever, whether it's a person or any channel that you want to try to find. So you can also use the search bar along the top. Super easy to do that as well. So you can see here in Slack, we've got those sections. Each one's got an emoji next to it. So we have to talk a little bit about emoji because what is Slack without using emoji effectively? You can do a lot of different things with it. Emojis are really a perfect mix of fun and useful, depending on how you do it. So at our company, just for some examples, we've got a number of custom emoji, like I'm sure many of us here do. We have all of our client logos set up as a custom emoji. So if I was doing like a deep dive, maybe I'm meeting with some clients on site for a day or something, I can put their logo as my status just to say, hey, this is kind of what I'm focusing on. This is the little visual logo of that client. We also have, this sounds kind of crazy, each other's faces so that if I'm out and someone else is covering for me, they could use my emoji as their status to show, oh, hey, I'm covering for Matt today. I'm going to put Matt's emoji up there. We also have different transit logos and lines for when people are commuting. You can put if I was leaving the Upper East Side where I am, I can put the Q train as my emoji to show that I'm on my way to work or something. You can put different vendor or SaaS logos. So if I was maybe working on building something out in Atlassian, as an example, I could keep the Atlassian A or something as my logo, or maybe the Jira logo or something like that. And of course, we've added all of the employees' pets as emojis, because sometimes you have to react with your cat's face. You just have to do it. If you're a cat person, dog person, anything, using your pets in there is always a good time as well. So yeah, slack.com/customize/emoji is a good place to look for that. Here's some visual examples. You can see my Matt emoji in there. There's a really, really funny picture of my cat as an emoji. And then the different train lines in New York City as well we have there. So those are just some examples. But like I said, using vendor or client logos can be really helpful to kind of identify who's working on what. Or if you're using them in your sidebar, put all the channels relating to a certain vendor or a certain client or something, and easily identify it with the logo of their company as well. Going back to channels very briefly, one thing you could do in Slack is you can define who or what, which is very important because it could not be a person if you don't want it to be, can actually post inside of a channel. You could set channel managers to be able to manage things in that channel, some specific settings and whatnot in there. And that also can kind of help force conversations into threads. So an example of that here is this systems channel, just as an example. And you can see in this window, there's an area called posting permissions. You can see in this channel, everyone can post. Everyone can reply to messages. This is where full communications, anyone can go in there, write a new message, respond in a thread. There's no restrictions there. However, there might be channels that you want it to be a little bit more restricted. A good example of that for us is a feed channel. Feed channels for us at MTS are things where it's a channel that we bring external updates into Slack. So this could be status updates from a particular system that we use, saying that there's an outage or an alert or something. And then you can restrict that channel to only having a workflow or an email post new messages in there. You can choose whether or not you want to keep the threads open, but you can really lock it down so that only those feeds, like I said, from a robot, from an alert, from a computer or something like that, are what's being posted in there. For us at MTS, we solved a big problem regarding authentication codes, because we have a few services that we use internally that no matter what you do to set up two-factor authentication, they always want you to tie it to a phone number. Now, often that phone number is tied to a person or something that's hard to share with the number of people that might need to get that code, especially if you've got people working late hours, people on call. They might not necessarily always have access to that phone number. So what we did is we directed those text messages that come to that specific number directly into a Slack channel so that anyone who's in that channel has the access to see that alert, get the code, and use it to whatever they need to do in terms of authentication or logging in. So down at the bottom here, I have an example of that, branding on it as well. I don't know if you all knew that. You can do custom branding on any email that comes into Slack as well. So it kind of has a cohesive look, just helps people really identify where they are. It says new SMS received, and then right in there, you can click on that preview. It has that content of whatever that message was that came in. But there's other feed channels that work really well as well. You can see the picture I have in the middle is from Slack itself, showing the Slack system status. So if Slack has an outage, it posts an email there telling you what the issue is, giving you updates on it. At the very, very top, you have a tool called LeapSum, which is how we give feedback to each other. It helps us celebrate each other's birthdays if we're interested in that. You can celebrate employees' work anniversaries in there. So that's an example of my colleague Bob, who is celebrating his work anniversary. So it automatically posts messages in there anytime there's one of those alerts. And then you can see we can react down at the bottom with some fun emojis to help kind of bring some of that stuff like birthdays or anniversaries that might live in a calendar that you might not look at all the time, bring it right into Slack so that people can actually kind of see it and interact with it here and communicate. As one of the big tools of Slack is really to be able to communicate back and forth. Some more here in terms of feeds. There we go. So these are some examples. I've got, I think, 3 windows here to show you that if you were to set up one of these feeds where you can bring an email into Slack, you can create a channel just like this one. You can choose to send emails to that channel down at the bottom. that brings you to something like this, where Slack can create an email address that you would then give to whatever tool you wanted to send those alerts to. And then you can customize the branding, what the name is, what the icon is, so that anything that comes in from that email address always has the same look. You could differentiate that between different channels so that any alert coming here looks like this blue and green SMS message, but then you can have feeds in other channels that look different. So gives you all the ability to create that email address, customize how it looks. I'm a big fan of trying to keep the branding consistent and making sure that things aren't just the default. You kind of do it intentionally, make it identifiable. All those options are right there inside of Slack for you to be able to add those feeds from an email. Another way that we solved an issue here at MTS is a tool that we have that we call the parking lot. So the parking lot is, if I, at any point of the day or night, have something that I want to mention to a particular team, I don't necessarily want to mention that team right then. It might not be urgent. I can wait until the next day when they have a stand-up meeting and they can all connect. So we have a channel that is called the parking lot. And what happens in the parking lot is a workflow, which we'll talk about in a second, posts in that parking lot twice a day, once at 8 a.m. and once at 5 p.m. You can see a little screenshot of what those posts look like. No one else can post in that channel. However, anyone could reply to the parking lot message in the thread and add whatever you want. So then if I needed to say something to that team, I can go in that parking lot, add my message in the thread, and then the next time they have a touch base meeting, which happens every day, they look through that thread, see who posted things in there, talk about each item that's in there, put a link to something, talk about a ticket, talk about a new piece of documentation, whatever it might be, all inside of the thread that's in that channel. And like I said, that's all happening from a Slack workflow, which we can talk about briefly now. So workflows help simplify routine process so that you could spend less time on them. Like I said, that parking lot workflow, post in that channel twice a day. I don't want to remember to post in that channel at 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. every day. I don't think anybody else wants to either. So for things like that, it's a routine process. You want it to work the same way every time. Workflows are really great for things like that. So it helps keep it's easy to build, and it helps keep your users inside of Slack. So instead of having them go fill out a Google form to submit their question or go post it in some other tool, it just keeps it right inside of Slack. You can easily find that channel, put it in one of your sidebar categories so it's easy to find, put a message in there so that it's brought up in the next meeting. It really helps increase Slack adoption and usage in our use case here, because then every day people are using Slack in there. They're posting in that workflow. Another example of a workflow I promised I'd get to a little bit earlier in this presentation is a Slack survey. So Nicole was asking me to do this, and I was like, I could talk about Slack as much as I want to, but I'm more interested in what the 50 people at our company think about Slack. So I was like, what if I use Slack and use a workflow to survey that team and ask them some questions? So I did exactly that, built it out in a workflow that you can just post in a channel and people could start on their own. And I asked what their top 3 favorite Slack features were and what their 3 biggest pain points of using Slack were. Because I like to see both sides. Like to see maybe we should focus more on organizing our channels and documenting things. Maybe we should focus on automating more things with workflows and eliminate some redundant processes. So I was able to gather all that information and have our employees submit that without ever leaving Slack. It happens all inside of the Slack windows that you can see in the screenshot. Here's a quick look at what that workflow looks like. Super simple and straightforward. They just click the link in Slack. It asks them the questions because it knows who they are. Since they're logged in, they don't have to list their name or email address or anything. So we know each person who filled out the form. And it has a little thanks for helping message at the very end. Then you can take all of that data from a survey inside of a workflow like this, export it as a spreadsheet, which is cool. But what's not nearly as cool as creating something like a word cloud, thanks to our wonderful friend ChatGPT. So this is showing you by the size of the word how common my coworkers use these words inside of their responses to the survey, specifically what their favorite features of Slack were. So you can see it talked a lot about huddles, talked a lot about threads, channels, integrations, reminders, notifications. So doing this manually would take who knows how long, but based on just creating something that you can ask every single employee, a form that's easy to replicate inside of Slack, and then taking that data, spending a minute or two with ChatGPT to get it to make something using the Slack colors, might I add. You could really create some really interesting feedback from your team, make some kind of word art like this, a word cloud based on their actual feedback. And, it takes almost no time to do once you've become a little bit familiar with building out the workflow. Other workflow that we talked about a little earlier was the parking lot. This is an example. It just tells you this is the one that posts every morning at 8 a.m. You can see it automatically does it then. It sends the message to that channel. It's got the little logo, the name, and the actual content of the message in there. You could, of course, make these more complicated. We could deep dive into more in-depth workflows another day, but this is just kind of an overview of how to do some of the most basics in a lot of these places, specifically here in workflows. I know we've only got about 10 minutes left. I just want to call out some apps that are really, really helpful if we have time. Is that okay? Cool.
I'm muted, but behind the scenes I'm shouting, yes, keep going.
Great, cool. So a lot of apps that you might already use might be able to integrate into Slack. A Slack app is a customized app, integrates with Slack, as well as external applications to provide organization-specific functionality, workflows. You can look for apps at slack.com/marketplace, and chances are you're probably already using Slack integration. Of course, you can use Giphy to add a GIF to a message or a thread, but things like Google Calendar, Google Drive are other great examples. Microsoft got some. Zoom has some. RingCentral, if you use that for your phone system, has an integration. So there's a lot of apps, probably tools that you already use and you already pay for, have an app that you could put into your Slack workspace to make work a little easier for you. So I invite you to think about what tools you might already use that have a Slack app. When considering new tools, inquire about what Slack apps or integrations they have. We were rolling out a new remote support tool for screen sharing at our company, and the one that we chose to use, one of the main reasons was because it has a Slack integration built right in. So it's easy for us to be able to generate a link to be able to share a screen with someone. It's all inside of Slack. You don't have to go to another website or tool. Also, there's nothing wrong with having a lot of apps. Big focus on this, because one workspace that we helped spin up has about 50 users, and they have about 70 apps. So don't think of that as a bad thing. We all have a ton of different SaaS tools that we're using, companies that we're using, vendors that we're interacting with. And I think the more apps that you have often is a good thing, because it means you're keeping that inside of Slack. You're making it easier for people to find that information here inside of Slack. So also there's apps for work and apps for play, which we're going to talk about right now. So I'm going to cover 4 real quick. One of them is called Spot My Status. All it does is shares your Spotify activity as your Slack status. Great for people who are into music, especially if you listen to music while you're working. Maybe you're, coding, or you're working on building out a new process, you're writing documentation, you have some music in the background. You could share what music you're listening to inside of Slack. There's settings to control what or when or what emoji it uses. Like I said, it's great for music lovers, especially if you're on remote teams, to kind of connect and see, oh, what's this person listening to, This is what the app looks like. And of course, I had to find a song named Slack to feature in my screenshot here. So Coin, the artist Coin, has a song called Slack. That's a little example of what it looks like everywhere that your Slack status shows up. It shows whatever song you're listening to, and it updates as you change. If you were listening to a podcast, it would show that. Of course, there's settings around it to control what times it does that or whatever, but just a good tool for allowing people to be able to connect remotely about music that they like. Another great tool that we have here is called Desk Found. If you have bookable desks in your office, Desk Found is a great tool that you can book desks right inside of Slack. Set up your floor plan, set up how many desks you have, conference rooms, phone booths. They've got a Slack integration where A, you can make a feed to see, who's going to be in the office today, and it lists everyone there. But B, you can book the desk itself right inside of Slack, see what coworkers are going to be working alongside you for the day, and kind of see all that all in one place. Really great app that we started using recently is called RunBear. RunBear basically lets you make a personalized AI assistant right inside of Slack. It enables the creation of a bot for Slack from an LLM in just a couple clicks, takes a couple minutes, and it pulls all of its knowledge from your company's internal or client-facing documentation. So if you've got Confluence, if you've got Notion, a knowledge base, a handbook, something like that. So then you could ask a custom bot inside of Slack a message. For example, hey, Helios bot, what do you do? And Helios bot at our company will answer you and tell you exactly what it is. And it's not making that information up. It's pulling it from documentation sources that we as employees update, create, maintain as time goes on. So it's a great way to kind of bring that existing company knowledge inside of Slack, have, kind of people get their feet wet when it comes to AI, but kind of putting some guardrails around it to have it really focus on any question that you ask it will go to your knowledge base. So the example I always use, if you ask our Helios bot who the president is, it doesn't know because we don't document that. Someone else probably does. But you could ask us about what clients we use or what clients use a particular product or who points of contacts are for different clients. That kind of information is super helpful. Last one I have for you is called Make, which is often just referred to as Make or Make.com. They used to be called Integromat. It's a no-code platform that enables people to automate workflows, connect different apps. You can bring pretty much any data into Slack to share with your team. An example, a problem that we solved here at MTS was building customer reviews in there. We have a physical retail presence. If someone leaves a review on Yelp, often our teams would never see the praise that people are giving them. So we created an automation using Make that anytime there's a new Slack review, a new Yelp review left by someone, here's a quick example of one, it will bring that into a Slack channel automatically at a recurring basis so that the team could see it. They could review them in meetings together. They can kind of see what people are saying about the services that they offer. Just to give you a quick look at Make, it's literally 3 things. It's, hey, you have a business on Yelp. We also keep track of them all on a Google Sheet. And then it sends a message to Slack. Of course, each of these has some settings and things to configure, but it makes building those automations that, a few years ago would have taken a lot of coding, setting up APIs, figuring out what service you're going to use to connect all this. It really helps kind of bring it all into one place so that you can get that information into Slack. I know I tend to talk kind of fast. I apologize. But I'd love to open it up, see if anyone has any other thoughts or questions.
One, that was awesome. I just want to kind of call out for Tarun in the chat there. You can, in current state, link your Slack dev workspace to your Trailhead account. So that is something that you can work through today. So I've been doing that, and I'm going to be setting up some fun use cases to kind of walk through in the future. But you can full force go through and set that up today.
Nice. Yeah.
Any questions for Matt? I know I definitely want to get Piyush's got something awesome to talk through about with us.
Well, a really amazing session, Matt, and you shared some wonderful information. And now for those of you who are looking to upskill on Slack, we have a really amazing 30-day challenge, which will start from 15th of August. So you still have like 10 more days to sign yourself up for the challenge. And the winners actually will be able, so actually the most active participants will be able to win or earn some Slack certifications and some cool Slack swags. What we are going to do is we are, so if you're okay, maybe I can share my screen for once, Nicole.
Yeah, go ahead.
So all you have to do is, I'm just going to share the entire screen. Okay. So what you have to do is go to the Slack community workspace and look for the Slack certified channel. And then from here, you can actually go to the 30 days to Slack expert challenge workflow, submit the workflow, and you'll be good to go. We will be sharing all the details here. There's a canvas with FAQs for, like, you might have a number of questions. You'll be able to find answers for all of those questions here. If you're not sure whether you were able to successfully submit the workflow, you can actually go to the list and you'll be able to see your name in the list if you scroll down, because all the people who have submitted the workflow, they will be added to this list. And once we will start sending the messages to everyone, you will get notified for that. So I will be dropping badge per day in the Slack certified channel. So make sure you join the channel, not just browse it, because if you're not joining the channel, sometimes people are facing issues with running the workflow. This is going to be a really cool challenge, and I'm hoping by the end of the challenge, we will be able to see a lot more Slack certified experts. So if you have any more questions, you can reach out to me, Jacob, Nicole, anyone in the community. We are happy to help you. And I hope most of you join the challenge, and I'm really looking forward to see you all there.
Awesome. Thank you for walking through that.
Thank
Matt.
you for the opportunity.
Yeah, no problem. Matt, anything else you want to call out? I just want to say that was extremely informative. I thought you did very, very well. And I loved just the energy that you brought and just the unique apps and everything. Huge fan of basically every part of this presentation. So
Thank you. Yeah, no, like I said, there's so many things. And really, the thing is, if you want to do something inside of Slack, whether it's using what's built into Slack or using a third-party app, chances are someone has probably either done a similar thing or the exact same thing, either with a workflow or with an app that's built to do something specific like that you really want to do. So the Slack community is a great place to find people. Some of these things that I've found, I've discovered, I've messaged with people in the Slack community and found that out. So I would say don't feel like you're alone. If you're struggling to figure out something or you want to make something easier, there's probably other people struggling with the same thing or working on a solution. So definitely post about it in there, or reach out to me because I probably have a solution for you as well.
Awesome. Any questions from anyone before we drop? We've got a couple sessions coming up, so there's going to be a couple Slack 101s going on end of August, end of September, and then end of September, I'm going to have Robert Cal. We're going to do a Bringing Slack into Salesforce DevOps. I'm very excited about that. I still have to post that one, but more than happy to have you jump into our community, ask us a whole bunch of questions in Slack as well. We love those, and I appreciate everybody's time today.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.